They cross the line because they believe you won't enforce it. They test you because they sense hesitation. That's human nature. People push boundaries. They probe. They calculate. And if you hesitate even once, you've shown them the map of your inner weakness. From then on, you're no longer in control. You're on borrowed authority. Understand this. Mercy without strength is self-destruction. Respect is never handed out. It's built, engineered, and enforced. Machiavelli knew it. Power isn't secured by hope or goodwill, but by discipline that cuts like steel. You don't win arguments by shouting. You don't win by explaining. You win by silence that freezes the room, by one decision sharper than 1,000 words. When someone disrespects you, it's not just mockery, they're studying you. They're measuring the distance between what you say and what you do. If they find a gap, they own you. So what must you become? Ice. The kind of ice that burns, the silence that suffocates, a presence that lowers voices without you speaking a word, cold enough that crossing you becomes their final mistake. This is not anger, not revenge. It is strategy. You are not emotional. You are absolute. The line is law, and law does not tremble. Remember this, a man without cold boundaries is already conquered. Write it, repeat it, burn it into memory. I am untouchable. I am the line. Now listen closely. You're about to learn Machiavelli's coldest response when the world dares to cross your edge. They crossed the line because they thought you would not act. That was their error, and your silence until now. That was weakness. But today, that weakness ends. Today, you learn a law, colder than iron. Machiavelli himself wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Why? Because fear respects boundaries. Love alone does not. Understand this clearly. People don't test you by accident. They test you because power is always up for negotiation. Every insult, every slight, every betrayal, it's not just an attack, it's a probe. They're searching for your breaking point. The moment your words collapse and your spine bends, and once they find it, you no longer own yourself. They own you. Machiavelli's rule is simple. Never let them think the line is negotiable. That's why your response must be colder than anger, free of emotion. Emotion reveals weakness. Coldness frightens because it feels inhuman. When you answer without heat, you show a rare quality, control. Here's your weapon. I don't argue, I adjust access. One sentence, delivered calm, freezes the air. No debate, no defense, no long explanations. You take away what they value, your time, your presence, your attention. And that punishment cuts deeper than rage ever could. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must act as both lion and fox. The lion enforces with power. The fox withdraws with cunning. Together they form a strategy no enemy can escape. That is your role. Now write it down, brand it into your psychology. I don't argue, I adjust access. Own it, live it, because once you master this, you stop bleeding power. You become untouchable. Silence is not weakness. It's not retreat. It's a blade sharper than speech. Most men are afraid to use it. They feel the urge to defend, explain, or shout back. But Machiavelli understood. The moment you explain, you grant the other person the right to question. The moment you argue, you step onto their stage, and you've already lost. Silence is not empty. Silence is pressure. It creates unease, discomfort, paranoia. People cannot endure it without exposing themselves. They start talking, justifying, revealing weakness, while you stay still like the executioner who hasn't yet raised his hand. This is why silence terrifies. It shifts the power instantly. They wonder, what is he thinking? What will he do? Did I go too far? And in that uncertainty, they collapse. Think of Machiavelli's fox. The fox does not bark. It observes, waits, and lets the enemy walk into the trap. Your silence is that trap. an invisible rope tightening around their throat. The rule is clear. When disrespected, do not rush to react. Let silence fall like frost. 1 second. 2, 5. Hold their eyes if you must, but don't speak. Don't move. Let them squirm under the weight of their own mistake. In that silence, they feel your law, and when you finally speak, your words strike like iron. Few, final, decisive. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must be both feared and respected, and nothing commands both like controlled silence. Fear comes from unpredictability. Respect comes from discipline. Silence carries both. It proves you are not a man ruled by impulse. You are the man who decides when reality shifts. Do you want practical power? Here it is. First, when insulted, say nothing. Silence is the answer. Second, if you must speak, keep it under 7 words. Cold, sharp, final, not acceptable. That ends here. Third, withdraw. Cut the conversation. Adjust access. Leave them inside the echo of their own disrespect. This is not passivity. It is strategy. While they burn, you grow colder. While they waste energy, you conserve it. And when you finally act, it is decisive. Burn this truth into your mind. Silence is not absence. It is dominance without effort. Say it. Write it. My silence is power. This is the second law. You do not chase respect. You command it through silence, the coldest weapon of all. Now, in part 3, you'll learn how to turn boundaries into an aura, a shield, so strong no one dares to cross. Power is not just in what you say or do. It's in what people expect from you before you move. That expectation, sharpened and enforced, becomes your aura. Machiavelli understood this. A ruler is not respected for loud words, but because his presence alone warns there are limits you do not cross. If your boundaries only appear when someone disrespects you, you're already late. True power carries standards like armor. People feel them in the way you speak, sit, and even in what you withhold. They should never wonder if you'll tolerate disrespect. They should know you won't. This is the Machiavellian law. Make boundaries visible without announcing them. A man who constantly explains his limits has none. But when your aura is cold, steady, immovable, no one dares test it. Why? Because they can feel the consequences radiating from you. Think of a fortress. The strongest castles didn't need daily battles. Their very presence, walls high, gates locked, guards watching was enough to keep enemies away. Your aura is that fortress. It says, I don't argue, I don't beg. Cross me, and you lose access to the kingdom I built. How do you forge this aura? First, precision. Decide what you accept and what you don't. Once. Never bend. That is law. Second, consistency. Enforce it every time, no matter who it is, friend, family, or stranger. Consistency builds your reputation. Third, minimal words, maximum enforcement. Don't announce, don't warn, act. Let people learn through consequences, not speeches. Machiavelli wrote, men judge more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see, but few can feel. People notice how you carry yourself before they ever feel your enforcement. That's why your aura must always broadcast cold control. It silently teaches what will happen if they test you. Here's the deeper psychology. People respect what they fear losing. Enforce your boundaries, and you show them the value of access to you. You become scarce. You become expensive. And in power, scarcity earns respect faster than generosity ever will. Say it aloud, then write it down. My boundaries are law. When your aura is set, you no longer need to defend yourself. Your presence does it for you. Your silence enforces it. Those who cross the line will feel the cost before you even act. This is the fortress effect. Build it, guard it, become it. Machiavelli wrote, injuries should be done at once, so that being tasted less, they offend less. Benefits should be granted little by little, so they may be enjoyed more. This is not cruelty, it is strategy. If someone crosses the line and you let them slide, you declare weakness. If you punish emotionally, you declare instability. But if you punish coldly, cleanly, decisively, you declare law. Understand this. People remember pain more than words. They don't recall your speeches. They remember the day they touched the fire and were burned. That is why punishment is necessary, not for anger, but to carve your boundaries into memory. But here is the Machiavellian principle: punishment must always be calculated, never to vent, always to teach. And it must be delivered once, thoroughly, so they never consider testing you again. The principles are simple: speed, precision, and finality. If you delay, they believe you needed courage. Quick action proves it was instinct. It shows your boundary was already active. Second, precision. Don't overdo it. Excessive punishment looks insecure. Too little looks weak. Strike exactly where it matters most: their access, their privileges, their closeness to you. Remember, removing favor is often more painful than direct confrontation. Third, finality. Don't drag it out. Don't nag. Don't explain. One decisive move, clean and cold, then silence. Let them sit in the emptiness you've created. That silence punishes more than any lecture could. Think of a king. If he must execute, he does it swiftly, publicly, then moves on. He doesn't rant. He doesn't justify. The act speaks for him. The people learn the lesson, and life continues. This is what you must practice. Understand this: punishment is not rage or violence. In modern power, the most effective punishments are psychological: exclusion, indifference, and withdrawal of value. Nothing cuts deeper than showing someone they are no longer relevant in your world. That is the execution they will never forget. Here's the hidden benefit: punishment strengthens your aura. When others see that you enforce without hesitation, they adjust themselves. They learn not to test you. The lesson spreads. Fear does the work for you. Say this now and write it down: I punish once. I punish cold. That is your creed. That is how you earn respect without endless battles. Machiavelli was clear: men must either be crushed or left alone. Anything in between breeds revenge. So when you strike, don't scratch. Cut deep. Leave the mark permanent. This is the art of calculated punishment: cold, final, untouchable. Machiavelli also warned rulers never to rely solely on presence. Constant exposure breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds contempt. The same law applies to you. If you're always available, always present, your value declines. But when you withdraw, when you disappear on your own terms, you weaponize absence. Absence is not retreat. It is strategy. To vanish is to make the world measure what life feels like without you. Many men will never do it because they fear being forgotten. But that fear is weakness. The powerful know the truth. Scarcity creates value. Think of fire. If it burns constantly, people stop noticing its warmth. But when it's gone, the cold sets in, and only then do they realize what they've lost. That's what your absence does. It creates a void, and in that void, respect grows. Here's the Machiavellian principle: control your presence like a weapon. Appear rarely. Appear decisively. Appear only when it serves your power. Then withdraw before they consume too much of you. Your scarcity makes you unforgettable. Your absence turns whispers into legends. There are 3 tactics of absence. First, the sudden withdrawal. When someone disrespects your presence, vanish completely. No warnings, no speeches, just gone. The silence becomes unbearable, leaving them with nothing but their own reflection. Second, the calculated gap. Even with allies, friends, or followers, create space. Step away long enough for them to feel the weight of your distance. Then return sharper, stronger, colder. Every reappearance feels like an event. Third, the permanent absence. When a boundary is broken beyond repair, you leave for good. No second chances, no explanations, just exile. This final absence is the ultimate punishment, telling them you no longer exist in the kingdom I built. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must learn to be both loved and feared. Absence creates both. It builds fear of losing you again and gratitude when you return. That balance is power. That balance makes you unforgettable. Never explain your disappearance. Explanations weaken the effect. Let them wonder where you went, why you left, what you're planning. That mystery keeps your name alive longer than constant presence ever could. Say this aloud and write it. My absence is my power. When you embrace this, you stop begging for attention and start commanding it. The world craves what it cannot have. Your absence proves your worth in ways words never can. This is the Machiavellian art of vanishing. Cold, strategic, unforgettable. Machiavelli's law is harsh, but eternal. It is safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love rests on emotions that shift like sand. Fear rests on memory, and memory stays. When people fear crossing you, they police themselves. You don't need to chase respect. You don't need to beg for loyalty. Fear enforces it for you. But note the difference. Chaotic fear breeds rebellion. Engineered fear creates obedience. A weak man tries to intimidate with shouting, rage, and empty threats. A powerful man creates fear with calm certainty. His enemies know that crossing him costs everything, not because he yells, but because he doesn't need to. Fear is built on three pillars: consistency, unpredictability, and consequence. First, consistency. People must know your boundaries are law. Every violation is enforced, no exceptions. This makes them fear testing you because they know the result. Second, unpredictability. While your standards remain fixed, your methods shift. Sometimes you withdraw, sometimes you cut access, sometimes you punish openly. They never know how you'll respond. That uncertainty keeps them cautious. Third, consequence. Fear is not created by words, but by cost. Punish in ways that leave marks, not physical, but psychological. Remove privileges, remove trust, remove access. These lessons carve themselves into memory, and memory is where fear lives. Machiavelli compared rulers to lions and foxes. The lion creates fear through strength. The fox creates fear through cunning. To master fear, you must be both. The lion shows you can strike. The fox ensures they never see it coming. Together, they create an aura where people respect you before you speak. Engineered fear is quiet. You don't announce it. You don't boast about it. It builds through your past actions. People whisper about you, exaggerate your responses, and warn others not to test you. That whisper becomes your shield. Here's the truth. Fear is remembered longer than kindness. A gift is forgotten in weeks. So punishment is remembered for years. Properly engineered, that fear doesn't turn to hatred. It becomes respect wrapped in caution. Say it now and write it. My fear commands respect. When you master this, you won't need to raise your voice. Your aura will do the speaking. Those who once tested you will step carefully, knowing one misstep could cost them everything. This is Machiavelli's mastery of fear. Engineered, quiet, permanent. Power fades the moment everyone has access to it. Familiarity erodes respect. Overexposure kills authority. Machiavelli understood this. He warned rulers never to become too common, too reachable, too ordinary. A leader who blends into the crowd is no leader at all. Distance is not weakness. Distance is elevation. It creates an invisible shield, a gap between you and the world that forces others to look up instead of across. That gap is where respect is born. Psychological distance means being present, but never fully available. People can see you, but they cannot reach you easily. They can interact, but they cannot predict you. You belong to no one, yet everyone feels the weight of your presence. That separation makes you untouchable. There are 3 ways to enforce psychological distance. First, rarity of access. Don't be everywhere. Don't respond to every message, every call, every request. Scarcity creates value. The more they see you, the more ordinary you seem. The less they see you, the more legendary you become. Second, control disclosure. Never reveal everything. Keep your plans, your thoughts, your emotions partly hidden. Mystery pulls respect from those who cannot fully read you. Machiavelli taught that men judge by appearances. Show only what strengthens your aura. Hide the rest. Third, measured presence. When you do appear, make it deliberate. Every word chosen, every move calculated. You become the man who wastes nothing. People learn that when you arrive, it matters, and when you leave, they feel the void. Think of kings and generals. They did not walk among the crowd daily. Their distance was their crown. It made their words heavier, their silence sharper, their presence unforgettable. The same applies to you. If you want to command power in modern life, you cannot be another face in the swarm. You must be the figure who stands apart. Here's the paradox. Distance creates closeness. When people cannot have you, they crave you. When they cannot predict you, they respect you. When they cannot touch you, they fear losing the little they already have. That is psychological distance. It bends minds without effort. Say it now and write it. My distance is my shield. Burn it into your memory. When you enforce psychological distance, you stop wasting energy on everyone. You stop diluting your value. You stop being ordinary and you start becoming untouchable. This is not arrogance. It is law, the law of kings, the law of predators, the law of power. Machiavelli taught that appearances outweigh reality because most people never look beyond the surface. They accept what they see. A ruler's survival depends less on who he truly is and more on what others believe him to be. This is the law of reputation. Ignore it, and you'll spend your life justifying yourself to those who already see you as weak. Reputation is power you carry without effort. It moves ahead of you, opening doors, silencing doubt, and commanding respect before you even speak. The powerful know this. You don't fight every battle. You let your name fight for you. But here's the truth. Reputation is not luck. It is built piece by piece. Every decision, every silence, every enforcement of boundaries. These are the bricks of your image. Build them well, and your reputation will inspire more caution than your presence ever could. There are 3 Machiavellian laws of reputation. First, choose your image. Decide exactly what you want to be known for. Discipline, precision, control, ruthlessness. Do not send mixed signals. People remember patterns, not chaos. As Machiavelli wrote, men judge more by the eye than the hand. Everyone sees, few experience. Shape what they see. Second, guard your image fiercely. Reputation is worth more than wealth. If it is attacked, you cannot sit idle. Answer quickly. If insulted, enforce. If slandered, counter with results. So sharp, the lie becomes absurd. Protect your name like a crown, because it is one. Third, use the whisper network. The strongest reputations are not shouted, but whispered. People should remark on your silence, your consistency, your absence, your punishment. Each action must feed the myth. Let others card a story you designed. Think of Caesar or Alexander. Their names inspired fear. before their armies even arrived. That is real power, to win before fighting. Psychologically, a strong reputation saves energy. People expect strength, so they act accordingly. They hesitate to challenge. They measure their words. They regulate themselves. That is power without effort. But the law cuts both ways. A weak reputation destroys you before the first move. If you are seen as unreliable, emotional, or soft, you've lost before beginning. So decide now, what will they whisper when you leave the room? What legend follows when you cannot defend yourself? Say it. My name is my weapon. Once your reputation is sharp and cold, it commands respect and obedience without you lifting a finger. Machiavelli also warned that rulers must not reveal all their power openly. When force is too visible, it provokes resentment. When power hides, it endures. This is the law of invisible control, shaping others without them realizing it, guiding their choices while they believe they are free. Understand this: most resist force, but they yield to influence they believe is their own. The greatest leaders did not chain their people. They engineered decisions. They shaped the environment, planted ideas, and let others walk into obedience willingly. This is not manipulation. It is mastery. Never argue within someone else's frame. Redefine the frame before the discussion begins. The one who sets the context usually wins. If you define the battlefield, they lose without knowing why. Instead of orders, present limited choices, both leading to your outcome. They believe they chose freely, while you directed the path. A master rarely says, "Do this." He asks, "Would you prefer A or B?" Both victories. Sometimes silence, sometimes distance, sometimes a subtle hint of disapproval. Rarely direct confrontation. People resist visible control, but adapt naturally to quiet influence. When they feel consequences without hearing your command, they discipline themselves. Machiavelli wrote that men are driven by love or fear. Add a third, need. Become the source of something they value: knowledge, access, stability, or opportunity. When their survival depends on you, you control without speaking. Think of the puppet master. The strings are invisible, yet every move is guided. That is invisible control. The less they see your hand, the longer they obey. Here's the psychology. People dislike being ruled, but they accept being guided. They resist domination, but welcome leadership. Invisible control makes you appear less like a tyrant, more like a necessity. They may even thank you for it. But this art requires patience. Do not rush. Do not brag. Power that screams for recognition is fragile. Power that moves silently lasts. Say it. I move the strings unseen. Once you master this, your control becomes untouchable. Machiavelli also warned that the greatest danger is to be discarded, used, replaced, forgotten. Power is secure only when you make yourself essential. If they can remove you, they will. If they cannot function without you, you are untouchable. This is the final law. Become irreplaceable. Men chase attention. Kings chase necessity. Attention fades, necessity endures. Machiavelli advised rulers to become the cornerstone of the state, the brick holding the entire structure. Remove it, and the building collapses. You must become that brick, solid, permanent, unavoidable. How? 3 strategies. First, control what they value. Whether resources, knowledge, or opportunity, hold what they depend on. Do not scatter your energy seeking approval. Master one domain so completely that removing you is unthinkable. Second, withdraw at key moments. Nothing proves your worth like your absence. When you step back, the gaps in strength or stability become obvious. When you return, your value is undeniable. Each cycle engraves the truth. They need you more than you need them. Third, fuse fear with respect. Respect earns admiration. Fear prevents betrayal. Together, they create reliance. They may envy you, they may whisper, but they will not move against you, because losing you costs them more than keeping you. Here is the coldest truth. Being liked is optional. Being needed is absolute. Those who are liked are temporary. Those who are needed are permanent. Machiavelli's prince did not seek applause. He sought leverage. Love fades, alliances shift, but necessity binds. If people wake tomorrow and know they cannot function without you, your throne is secure. This is where all laws converge. The boundary, the silence, the aura, the punishment, the absence, the fear, the distance, the reputation, the invisible control, all leading here, irreplaceability. When you reach this point, you are not only respected, you are embedded in their system. To strike you is to destroy themselves. That is sovereignty. Say it. I am irreplaceable. This is not vanity. It is the last stage of power. The stage where no one dares move against you because doing so means collapse. That is the crown. Cold, heavy, permanent. If this video has sparked something in you, carry it forward. But do not stop here. Power is a discipline, built daily. Comment your phrase, subscribe to Dark Tactics, and turn on notifications. This is only the beginning of your rise.